We are live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I'm absolutely new at this. This is my first time ever doing a live stream, so please bear with me if there are technical snafus. But hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. This is, as you know, my 100 subscriber live stream special. I'm super excited that I reached 100 subscribers. It's such a small goal, you know, like most YouTube channels are just, you know, huge and they got thousands and thousands of views and subscribers, and I'm starting out small and I'm trying to celebrate the small victories. And 100 subscribers is the smallest of victories. It's like the first milestone in the YouTube kind of progression. The one I'm really excited for is 1,000 subscribers, just mostly because the number is big, you know, the number, it sounds impressive, like 1,000, better than 100, I guess. Also that kind of like is when your channel reaches the next kind of tier of in the YouTube progression scheme. So looking forward to that. But for now, we're gonna celebrate 100 subscribers. I see that J-Don Inc. Jennifer is here. Thank you for joining me. I'm hoping there are going to be a few people I know joining in, but I do have a list of things I wanted to kind of go over. I'm going to be drawing on the stream. You're welcome to ask any questions that you have in the comments. And if you want any requests, I'm going to be doing some drawing, so you're welcome to put down a request. So I'm going to start out. Oh, hello. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to do very good with this name. I'm going to say your second name because that first name is intimidating. Marinova. So hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a conversation I like to have, especially when I'm teaching kids. And that is, what is an illustrator? So I'm an illustrator. I don't consider myself an artist necessarily. I consider myself an illustrator. And lots of people don't know the difference between an artist and an illustrator. So what I like to say is that an artist is somebody who makes art kind of for themselves, or they make art to sell that art. So they just kind of do what they want. They perfect their craft and they just make things and sell them, put them out into the world, however you want to think about it. An illustrator is different in that an illustrator is a commercial artist. So an illustrator is always hired by somebody else to do a project for them. So, I mean, an illustrator and an artist, they might use the same tools. Like an artist might work in oil paints, an illustrator might also work in oil paints. An artist might draw with a pencil, an illustrator might draw with a pencil. It just comes down to what the purpose of the art is. Are you making the art to sell it, or to just put it out into the world, or are you making the art for somebody else's project? So that's how I think of the difference between an artist and an illustrator. I wanted to kind of quickly go over like a day in the life. So for me, as an illustrator, my days are very similar actually. I'm a family man, I have kids, and I work from home, which kind of by default makes me the stay-at-home dad or parent. In the morning, I get up with my kids and make them breakfast and set them on their way. Once they leave, I get to work. My schedule has changed in the last 2 months because now the very first thing I do is I sit down and I do my daily doodle, which has been a nice change. I consider the daily doodles that I do for my channel to be something I'm kind of doing for myself, which is not something that I usually slot into my daily schedule, and it's really been nice to have that as like a little bit of a distraction. Hello, Michael Noble. Thank you for joining us. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. So the daily doodle, I will do an illustration and then I'll record myself doing the illustration, and then I will edit the illustration and I'll put it all together with music. Sometimes I'll do the illustrations a day or two in advance, so all I have to do is do the editing and I'll upload that. And that's kind of a nice start to my day. And it gets me doing something that I want to do just for myself. And then by that point, I'm kind of energized and I have the flow going on, and I'll start into some client. My clients find me in a variety of ways. I have lots of repeat clients. I get lots of new clients too. And for the most part, the kind of stuff I'm doing is very commercial stuff, you know, like an illustrator is always doing something for somebody else's project. So it tends to be, you know, a little bit more on the commercial side. So, you know, like the most common project I get is just characters. I think that's kind of one of my fortes, is drawing unique characters. So people usually want that. They want whatever mascot for their company, or they want me to take somebody and turn them into a cartoon or something like that. So I spend lots of my day emailing, doing sketches, sending things back and forth, talking on Zoom or whatever. And the actual illustrating part of my job, where I'm sitting down and working on the computer, is actually a relatively small portion of just like the things that need to be done by an illustrator in a day. Which is a shame, because that's the part I really love. I love drawing, I love working, I love just making things, and I wish the job was entirely that. There are illustrators that do get hired by companies and their job is just to go in and sit down and just draw all day. You know, like if an illustrator's working on a video game or something like that, for instance, they'll go into the game studio and they'll sit down and they'll just be drawing the characters and the objects or whatever all day long. I do get big projects like that where I have a bunch of stuff to do, so I can just sit down and draw. But for the most part, there's lots of back and forth and talking to clients and stuff like that. And that usually goes, for me, I'm working from probably 9 until 4 o'clock. All day long, I'm just in front of this computer. I have a standing desk, so I'm not sitting all day, which is nice when I kind of made that transition. So I'm just basically standing here in front of the computer with my pen in hand, working away. I'm going to show you in a little bit the kind of programs that I use and the way I like to work. But for now, I wanted to just dive in and start doing some drawing. I'm going to go to some of the questions that I had in advance. These are some folks that left me a question on Facebook. So Sophia wants to know the best way to draw hands. Now, I am passionate about drawing hands. When I was in college, I had a teacher who said, he said this and it stuck with me. He said, there is as much detail in a hand as there is the entire rest of the body. There's as many muscles, joints, and movement and kind of positions that you can do with your hand as the entire body. So you basically have, if you want to practice drawing, you have a model at the end of your wrist that is always with you. It's willing to take any pose you want to put it in, and you can always draw your hand. And it's so important for an artist to draw hands, because hands are just something artists need to draw all the time. Every character needs hands, and so many different ways to draw hands and stuff. So I'm going to show you kind of like, apart from practicing drawing your actual hands, there are some kind of tricks you can use to draw hands. So the best way to draw hands is to use what I like to think of as the sausage method. So if you look at your hand is kind of this flat shape here, and it's connected with this tube here, your wrist, and there is basically like a little joint in there, a ball, where your hand can move around. So what you want to do is think about this as a piece attached to this, and each of these little guys coming out is a sausage connected by, like, you know, a little ball like that. So if you're drawing cartoon hands, it's pretty easy to think about it this way. You bring your wrist out like this. There's that ball, okay? Then there's that little flat piece right there. You think about which side of the hand is the thumb on. That's very important, and that's something you kind of need to just to just get a sixth sense for. You need to draw lots and lots of hands, and eventually you'll figure out, it's like am I showing the hand the front or the back, and the thumb, is it on this side or that side? So if I were to put my thumb on this side right here, yeah, I know what you mean, Jennifer. There's so many different ways to draw them, and usually what I just default to is like the simple, just like, I'll show you a simple way in a sec, but yeah, so I'm kind of doing a little bit more realistic way. So if I think of this as sausages, so there are 4 fingers, and they all kind of come out from there. So the first is the thumb, and it's just a sausage that comes out like that. The second will be your pointer finger, and it's just kind of a sausage. You can kind of make it 2 sausages if you want. I'll do 2 for this one, but you really can just do 1. Like if you just do 1 like this, it's good enough. And this guy, I'm going to make this a bent finger, so the sausages like that. And that's kind of the basics of it right there. The way that I usually do it in my cartoons is I'll do it like this. If you probably noticed that my cartoons, they often have like, you know, like wiggly arms and stuff. Like here's a pirate, and you know, my stuff isn't very realistic. My guys have long noodly arms and really wacky kind of body parts and stuff. So usually my arm comes down like this, okay? And then if I'm drawing a hand, I'll usually put it at like a little ball at the end of the wrist like that. And I'll do the same thing that I do up here, but it's super simple. Like 1, 2, 3, and then the thumb off like that. And then I'll just decide where the wrist is a little bit later on. I'll erase my work on the inside. There we go. Simple hand. And you'll get better at them. You really do develop a sixth sense for drawing them. When I was in college, after my teacher told me that, I wanted to be very good at life drawing. And when I heard that, it was like I started filling sketchbooks with so many hands. It's like crazy how many sketchbooks I actually filled with hands. Please guys, if you wouldn't let me know, how is the stream doing? How is the level of the volume for the music? Can you guys hear me okay? Is the quality all right? I can see that YouTube is telling me my connection isn't the best, and it really isn't. I live out in the country, so this is kind of a test too, to see how it goes. So please, if you wouldn't mind, let me know. How does the stream look? How does it sound? Let's continue on here. I'm going to get rid of this hand. Thank you for your question, Sophia. Christopher wants to know how to shade to make it 3D. That's a big question. There are so many different ways of shading. There are so many different tools you can be using to draw. Oh yeah, that's right, Jennifer. Yes, quickly. 4 fingers for cartoons, for sure. I always do, like if I'm drawing something realistic, I'll do the whole 4 fingers. But for cartoon characters, you take the Mickey Mouse rule. Just do 3 fingers. It always looks good. It actually looks weird. If you're drawing something that's not realistic, like a character is not realistic, it looks weird if you put 4 fingers on them. There's just something about that 3-fingered hand. It simplifies it down to its basic handness, and it just feels more natural if you're drawing a weird cartoon character to have the character have just 3 fingers versus 4. So yeah, I definitely approve of that. Okay, so Christopher, shading. If you're shading with a pencil, it's a different technique than if you're shading with a pen. And that's a different technique if you're shading with a marker or any other kind of thing. So I'll just talk about the very basics of what makes something look 3D in terms of shading. So if I have a ball here, all right, actually, you know what? I'm going to actually paint this. So let's put a neutral gray background right here. And we'll put a ball on top. Let's say that it's a white ball, okay? Now, the main thing with shading is you want to think about where is the light coming from. The light hits one side, you see over here, the light's hitting me here, the shadow's on this side. Yeah, it's just my connection. There's only so much I can do. I think if I do these streams a little bit earlier in the day, it'll work better because for some reason my internet starts slowing down, and yeah, I live in the country, I'm on LTE internet, it has its ups and downs. So Christopher, the light is always coming from one direction. So let's say the light is coming from the top left. That means that this is the area where the light is hitting, and this is the area where the shadow is. And if there's a shadow that's being cast, it's not being cast in this direction, it's being cast over here in this direction. So if I'm gonna make this ball look like an actual 3D ball, the way I'm gonna do the shading is, oh, here we go. Okay, so the way I'm gonna do the shading is, I'm gonna put a dark shadow on the opposite side of where the light is hitting. So the light's hitting over here, I'm gonna put a shadow over here, okay? Now, the shadow I'm gonna just start with kind of a medium gray shadow. And I'm gonna just put it on half. Let's just say the light is hitting exactly half of that ball. Now, what you wanna do is put enough of the shadow on that it's, you know, half is in light and half is in shadow. And then there's two ways you can go about adding the darkest areas. The most realistic way is to actually add a bit of the darkest area right around the area where the light meets the dark. This is called the penumbra, and it's kind of an artistic technique to make things look very realistic. I'm gonna actually do that, but another way you could do it is to just add the shadow way along the outside. And it's not as realistic, but it's easier to think of and conceive of. So I'm gonna put this here. Then I'm gonna put the shadow underneath the object too. So if we have the ball there, I'm gonna add the shadow right underneath. I'm just doing a simple airbrush here. And the reason that the light, or the reason that the darkest area of the shadow is always against the edge of the light is because there's something called reflected light. So if the light is coming in here, it's actually hitting the ground all over here. The light, wherever there's not a shadow, the light comes in and hits the ground. And wherever the light hits the ground, it actually bounces off the ground and shines up from the ground or the table. So this is reflected light. This is the light bouncing up from down here and hitting down here. So there's a main light source, which is coming from the top up here. And there's a reflected light source, which is coming directly from the ground, opposite the light. And that's why there's always this dark area in the middle of where the light hits the dark. Okay? So that's probably more explanation than you were actually looking for. You were just looking for a quick tip. My quick tip would be think about the direction of where the light's hitting and put a shadow on the opposite side. Alrighty, I'm gonna just get rid of these. Let's see here. Okay, and we'll continue on. So I hear that you can hear me okay, but it's cutting out a lot here in the UK. Yeah, I think it's just the quality of my internet right now. So I really apologize, guys. If it's remotely watchable, then I'm going to consider this a success. So if you wouldn't mind, let me know. Is it good enough that I should continue, or is it really, really bad and horrible, like I should just bail on this whole thing? So let me know in the comments. Charlotte says she loves my cat drawings. She'd love to see more cats. So I'm going to take a minute here to take a break and show you the basic programs that I like to use. And the way I'm going to do that is by drawing one of Charlotte's cats. So this is my favorite new program. This is called Artrage. And Artrage is cool because it's very painterly. So here, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to start fresh. And you can actually use the brushes. So it has like a watercolor brush and it looks very realistic. And you can even like blend the paint together just as if you were working with watercolors. It has a oil brush. So if I come in here, start smudging them together, it actually like mixes the paint and kind of smudges it around. You see that? It's a lovely program to work in. It feels a lot like working with real paints. Another tool you could use is the palette knife, so you can kind of scrape the paint around. So if I put a smudge of paint there, I can use my palette knife and smudge it around and smush it all together. Like here, we'll take some blue, we'll smudge it right in there with the green, and then we'll smudge that around and we'll mix it around with the knife, see? So it's really, really cool program for getting some cool painterly effects. And there's other tools too. There's an airbrush and things like that. So I'm just going to start by drawing Charlotte's cat in Artrage here. I'm going to just make this super quick. So we'll see how it goes. Charlotte is pink. Okay. I don't know how old you are. I think I probably should know how old you are, but I don't remember. But let's make you a little cat here. What color cat should I make? Scream it. Scream it at the screen. All right. No, I'm not going to make that color. I'm going to make it orange. Let's make an orange cat. This might look a little weird against the pink, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to pick a bright orange that you can really see against. There we go. There we go. You want to pick something that has a lot of contrast. So let's do a cat. Now with cats, Jennifer, this program is called Artrage, and it is a really cool program. I'm obsessed with it lately. It's like my favorite program to work in, apart from Adobe Illustrator, of course. But yeah, it's very painterly. You can get it for the PC. It's only $50 for, like, you have it forever once you buy it. You can get it for the iPad. I haven't tried it with the Apple Pencil or a tablet pencil yet, but I love working with it on the PC. And it's not as powerful as something like Photoshop and Illustrator, but it's super fun and it does the job. You can totally do the illustrations you want to do. Marinova, thank you for telling me that it's watchable. That's a relief. I'm going to keep going here. So Charlotte's cat, let's do this. A cat to me, a cat is a sausage with cat ears on it. That's how I think about cats. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to draw a wonky little sausage here. I'm going to color it in. I'm going to paint it in. And I'm going to maybe cut off the top of his head because that's getting a little too close. And we're going to draw some cat ears. 1, 2. Okay. There we go. Actually, you know what? This one, I'm going to put it a little bit more up. There we go. And then I like to carve out the shape. So once I paint the basic shape, I will just kind of carve it out like that. I might have to do lots of finagling to kind of get it in just the right shape that I want. I like to keep things wonky, keep it loose and kind of silly looking. So I'll purposefully cut things wrong and make them look weird just because that's fun to me. And if I'm not working for a client who needs this for, you know, some important purpose, then this is just for me. So I'm going to do whatever I want. One of the things I like most about this program is I can lock the painting on a layer. So with this layer here, for instance, you can see that I'm going to lock the transparency. So now when I work inside the character, I'm going to be painting inside this shape that I've already made. See this? So I can go in and add more texture. I can add some paint in there, and then I can grab the palette knife and kind of smush it around. And it's a good way to kind of get unexpected textures and tones and just happy accidents happening. Sometimes I'll even take another color. Like in this guy, maybe I'll take a bit of brighter orange and some actual yellow, and I'll kind of smush them around, mix them together. And this is where Artrage excels, because you can really have some weird things happen that you weren't really trying to do or expecting, and they just work out, and you're just like, oh, cool. I'm going to leave that just the way it is. I'm going to do the same with the background here. I'm going to add some, let's add some darker pinks here. Remember to lock that transparency so you're painting inside the object. Maybe let's actually add some some other kind of tones in there. We'll go with a little bit of a lighter and a little bit of a darker. Here we go. Good. And now we're going to smudge them together with that palette knife. Scrunch them around. This is just what you would do with paint, I think. You know, you would put the paint on the canvas and really start smudging it around, scraping it around, mixing it on your palette. Lots of experimentation that needs to happen. So, going back to our cat, I have the basic shape. Let's give him a tail. I'm going to come and create a layer behind this main layer. And we are going to come in and put a tail. What kind of a tail do I want to give him? A big bushy tail? Yeah, let's give him a big bushy tail. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to zoom right in. Let's give him a big old bushy tail. Okay, just like this. And don't they I don't have a cat. I'm not really a cat person. I love cats, but I don't have them and I don't draw them as much as I should. Here, let's do this. Let's put, I think sometimes they have like a, you know, some sort of a second color on the end of their tail, sort of like that, you know, almost like a fox or whatever. I mean, cats come in all shapes and sizes. I'm sure there's no wrong way to draw the contours and colors on a cat, but let's leave it like that for now. And then we're going to go in. We're always going to go in. We're never going to leave anything just one color, because this is Artrage. This isn't like Illustrator. This is Artrage. You want to add texture and color and different variations to every little shape you make. So here we come. I'm going to scrape these all together. Okay, let's add another little bit of other color in there and scrape that around and mix it all up. Create those unexpected textures and unexpected tones and happy accidents. Come up to the very tippy top and do the same up there. Scrape that around. Okay, good enough. So, continuing on, let's give him a face. Now, to me, I mean, I know everybody thinks about cats in a different way. Some people think that, you know, cats should be drawn the way cats actually look. I don't think that way. My cats are eyes, a nose, and a mouth, done in just the very simplest, most basic way. Now, I'm gonna come in here with let's give him some black eyes, okay? And let's do a little practice here. So let's actually do a little sketch for the face and figure out how we want it. Maybe something like that. Nope. Let's try something else. Maybe put those eyes way far out. That's pretty good. I don't really like that mouth. Let's just go... Nah, that feels more like a dog to me. Let's just... Oh my gosh. That's looking so cute. Maybe we'll just give him a little... Yeah, something like that. That feels good. So, when you have your sketch, you can change the opacity of the layer. So I'm going to make it kind of a medium darkness, and we're going to come in and add 2 eyeballs. 1, 2. Then we're going to take a nice subtle pinkish tone for that nose, I think. Yeah, that feels good. I'm going to pick something that works good with the colors of the body that we already have. So nothing that's too clashy. And then I'm going to make another layer underneath this one because I don't want that little mouth line to blend into the nose too much. And the mouth line, we're just going to take one of the darks from our cat. We're going to take a little sample of this dark color under his tail. That's perfect. 1, 2. And we're going to carve it out a little. Okay. So this is my cat. Let's tidy up those eyes a little bit. Perfect. Okay, and last but not least, you need some legs. Cats need legs, of course. So let's come in here. And we'll take some of this body color. And I mean, there's so many different ways to do legs. I could have him like sitting on the ground, you know, where his legs are like that. And then one paw, another paw, sitting like that. but I think I'm gonna do something a little just kind of ridiculous and just kind of give him some nubby legs sticking out. Just 4 of them. 1, 2, actually 1, 2. Oh, that looks pretty cute just the way it is. That might be a happy accident. Let's see how this goes. I'm gonna carve this into the shape I actually want it. Let's see. 1, 2. How does that feel? That feels really ridiculous and actually very cute. So let's just say that he's sitting on the ground like that. Yeah. I think I'm gonna have to do just another nubby little leg. Something completely ridiculous and utterly adorable. Okay, I'm gonna erase the tops of these legs to blend them into the body a little bit. Now I'm gonna lock this transparency and come in with some darker tones just to kind of give them some variation. There we go. And another reason I should draw more cats is because people seem to like my drawings of cats. Whenever I draw a cat, people just seem to like it. And like I said, I'm not really a cat person. I don't have a cat, but I can understand why people like it. Because, you know, if you're a cat person, just seeing cat people are crazy. They love cats so much. I wish I cared about cats as much as cat people love their cats. So this is me living vicariously through these people. Okay, so let's see if I can get your name right. Arlade Muniz. I'm sorry if I didn't get that good. But let's see your question. Hi there. I don't know if anyone asked here, but what's your favorite pencils? So when it comes to drawing with physical tools, I honestly don't care. I just buy the cheap stuff. The reason, like I used to really get into buying, Boris, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for joining. So I used to get into buying expensive tools, like always the best canvases and paints, and really focusing on just like the quality of the instruments. And the reason I stopped doing that was because when you spend a lot on pencils and nice sketchbooks, nice papers, you have a lot invested in your art. You have a lot invested in making sure that that picture turns out. And that's a lot of pressure. If you're sitting down and it's like you got your good pencil and your good sketchbook, there's this pressure to make good drawings. And I know that's what every artist wants to do, but it's sometimes detrimental to sit down and try to make a good drawing. Sometimes you want to sit down and just have fun and experiment and just try to figure stuff out. Try to see if you can come up with a new way to do stuff. So I stopped caring about the quality of my tools. And like my drawings with a 1-cent pencil aren't any different than with a good, you know, you can spend a lot on pencils. You can spend $10 on an artist pencil, and it's not going to make your drawings any better, especially if you're just learning. So, I mean, there comes a point where you do need better tools for specific things. But if you're just drawing, just use whatever you like, whatever works, whatever feels good in your hand, whatever looks cool, whatever makes you want to pick that thing up and draw with it. And it doesn't have to be expensive or nice or fancy or any kind of special thing. So if you want to know what kind of pencils I use, let me go grab them. All right, so here's my pencils. These are the actual pencils I sketch with. There are 2, all right? Here is one. This is a big, fat, kind of triangular shaped school pencil. It is HB. That's what the real artists use. I'm kidding. Nobody cares. And the other one I use is just good old mechanical pencils. I mean, yeah, there's no reason to get fancy with your pencils. If you like drawing realistic shading life drawings, then yeah, you could spend more on a pencil. In that case, I like, you know, a combination of maybe a 2H and a 2B, and I'll work with those together. But honestly, just find something that you want to draw with. Okay, so let's finish off this little cat for Charlotte. This is your cat, Charlotte. I'm going to name this cat Charlotte. This cat is officially named Charlotte, just so you know. Charlotte the cat. Okay, we got some nice stuff happening. We're working in Artrage. We're scraping the paint around. And there we go. Maybe Boris, if you wouldn't mind, how does the quality of the stream look on your end? I've been having some warnings that the buffering and the kind of internet speed isn't really working out. So some people have said that it's sort of working okay, but I'm curious to know, how's it working for you? Thanks, Jennifer. All right, let's finish this cat off. Okay, I think I'm gonna give him some stripes. So we're gonna make this guy like a Garfield cat. So, kind of stripes would a Garfield cat have? I mean, let's do this. Do we want to give him some pointy stripes, or you know what? I'm just gonna give him some kind of lines. Yeah, we're just gonna do this kind of. We're gonna pretend like I'm an amateur. This is something, a technique. It's called faux naive, where you as an artist, when you know what looks good and you know how to make things look good, you draw as if you are a complete amateur, but in just the right way where it still looks pretty cool. So that's usually the kind of vibe I go for, especially when I'm just working for myself, like with my daily doodles. I'm just doing something fun that I want to do, so that's the way that I think about it. So we're going to come in here, we're going to finish off, let's add some more stripes on each side here, kind of wonky, different directions, just make it look a little fun, a little weird. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to nip the tip off of each of these. I want them to be kind of like a little wonky shapes. I think about these kind of things in the terms of like almost like cutouts, you know, like if I was making this illustration out of cut paper, like how would the shapes kind of look if I was kind of, you know, rushing and just kind of cutting them in various shapes. And that's a good way to kind of just add some different variation in kind of just the right way, where it's that faux naive. It's that effect of making it look like it was kind of a little bit amateur, but done by somebody who, you know, knows just the right way to do something in an amateur way that it still looks pretty cool. Okay, so there we go. There's my stripes. Should he have? Yeah, stripes on his head, right? Obviously. Let's do that. Snip the tip off those, make them nice and sharp. Okay. And so I'm going to lock this layer, and even though these are just details, I'm going to come in and I'm going to add some extra tones into even these stripes. You know, we got to get some depth and some happy accidents happening on every part of the illustration. There we go. That's feeling pretty good to me. Okay. So maybe we should add some stripes to the tail. Would an orange cat with stripes have stripes on his tail? Let's think here. Cat, orange stripes. Let's look at a picture of, because I'm a little bit out of my depth here. What do we got here? Yeah, probably stripes on his tail. What do we got? Yeah, I like the feel of the stripes on the tail. Let's do that. Okay, we're gonna add some stripes to this tail. So I'm gonna make a new layer. Actually, I'm gonna come in with this layer. This second layer we already have in the shape of his tail. That's perfect. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna select the contents of his tail layer. Select layer contents. But then instead of actually drawing and painting on the tail layer, I'm gonna draw and paint on this details layer. So here, we'll come in and we'll add some of these little guys, wonky here, in different directions. Good. And then we'll nip the tip, right? Gotta make these look like they're cut out of paper or just kind of weird little happy accident type shapes. And we're gonna also, again, come in with some darker colors. Jennifer, I see you're laughing, but I can't tell where in the stream you are, because when I look at my preview of the stream, it's like way behind where I actually am. That's like 5 minutes ago. So I apologize if what I'm seeing doesn't correspond to what you're saying, but I'm really curious to see what you're laughing about. Okay. I hope I didn't do something embarrassing. Okay, so here we go. Looking good. There. Okay, so the last step will... Oh, wait, no, I lied. We're going to add a little bit more detail on top of his paws. Let's add some little claws there. They're feeling a little too just boring and stubby. One tool that you can use is the crayon tool. It's for like, you know, drawing like in a almost like pencil style. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Some little claws on my little cat. He's so derpy looking. Maybe I'll give him a little highlight. You know, like there's always, you always got to give a little bit of a shine to the eyes. Always got to add a little bit of, there you go. You could also do the cutie eyes. That's what my kids call them. When they draw them, they always do a highlight on one side and then on the other side. And they call it the cutie eyes. So it ends up looking like this. So I think I'll do that for yours. So yeah, see? It's almost like he's like crying or something. Oh, he's so cute. So sweet. So sad. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is give his eyes a little bit. Okay, thank you, Boris. That's not too bad. Just as long as it's relatively watchable and worth doing. Good, like if the quality of the stream is good enough that, you know, you can hear what I'm saying and you can kind of see what I'm doing, hopefully. So I'm going to come in here and add some shadows under these eyes. Just to give it a little bit of depth. There we go. And maybe let's add a little bit. Let's add some more like orange around his mouth a little bit, just to, because this part of his face is a little bit boring. Let's just go like this. We'll scrape it around. Here's one thing I want to talk about. You see how he has this texture on his body? That's not actually the paint of his actual body that I painted. That's the paint of the texture underneath his body. You see that? And it shows through because this is actually a program that the paint is actually like it's not like a 3D object, but it's what's called a bump map, where the paint has depth to it and it impacts the layers of the paint you put over top. So if you don't want this to show through, what you do is you come in here and you do the bump blend modes, and you have this do a replace, and it basically says anything behind this object doesn't affect this actual object. So if I want to come in and put some paint texture into this guy, I got to actually do it on his layer. See this? There we go. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions about that. There's kind of lots of different quirks to this program that aren't super obvious when you first start using it, that if you kind of learn them, it's really, really powerful and much easier to use. Because you just have so much more control over, like, oh, I don't like those, you know, textures. So rather than having to go in and paint it so it looks good, you can just kind of use these tricks to modify the actual 3D paint in the program. Okay, so I'm gonna, there we go. We're gonna say that that's good enough for him right now. Maybe we'll come in, scrape it away a little bit. Okay, that feels good to me. So every time I say it feels good, I come in and I do just a little bit more. This is a curse I have where I'm like, okay, illustration's done. I'll just change this one little thing. Okay, there we go. Ooh, maybe I'll just do that. Okay, good. Okay, now it's done. As soon as I do this, and it just takes me forever to call something finished, and eventually I just have to be like, you know what? I gotta call this finished or it's never gonna be finished. Let's add some little shapes in his ears here. And we'll carve these out. Thank you guys so much for joining me and sticking with me. I can't believe it's already been 45 minutes. We got 15 minutes left and I got a few more questions I got to get to. So we're going to finish this cat off and move on as quickly as possible here. So, but you know, can't just call it done before it's actually done, especially without one of the most important parts, which is to make this guy look like he's actually in a scene. Right now, he looks like he's floating in this void of pink purplishness. So I'm gonna come in, let's prop this in a little bit closer to his actual shape. Let's see, how do we want to do this? Maybe like this. Another thing I like about this program is just you press one button and it flips the illustration, and it's a really good idea to flip the things you're working on and see them from a new perspective every so often, just to make sure that nothing looks a little weird that you haven't been noticing. Okay, so we're coming along. Okay, and really struggling with this cut. There we go. There we go. Okay, good enough. Okay, so we're going to come in and we're going to add a shadow underneath this guy just to make it look like he's actually sitting in an actual scene. Now, with the shadows, you really want to just be sloppy. Like, there's no right and wrong way to do a shadow, so you just kind of come in and just kind of sloppily add some paint underneath him, and it looks cool. Now, you can get fancy. You can, like, blend it around and, like, whatever, but I like to keep it looking super sloppy just because it's part of that faux naive vibe where you just kind of pretend like, you know, pretend that you're just an insane madman. Who would paint a shadow like this? It makes no sense, but he's doing it and it looks cool. So let him be a madman. I want to be that madman sometimes. When it comes to shadows, they're not super important. So just let that be a part of your painting or illustration or drawing where it just, things break down and the laws of reality don't make sense anymore, and it's just your painting or drawing goes into the realm of just imagination. Okay, so here we go, and we're gonna come in a little bit darker. Let's come in with like a really dark purple. Hang on. All right, that's good enough. All right, we're gonna say that is about done. Now, one more thing that I like to do. This is a super secret tip. It's kind of one of my things. So don't tell anyone I told you, don't spread this around, but a way to add depth to the characters is to make another layer and put on a bunch of different effects, but all in the same kind of colors of the main part of your character. So if I'm gonna come in here with this guy's body, I'm going to here select this guy's layer's contents, create a new layer, and I'm going to come in here, and this is on top of everything, and I'm just going to start adding some scribbles, and I'm going to sample the colors from his body and just kind of add extra little scribbles and keep sampling different colors and smudge it around and just make it look like a little bit more messy, almost like. I like to think about it like this cat is made out of cut paper, and that cut paper came from a kid's sketchbook or practice painting or whatever, where it's messy and it's scribbly and he made mistakes, and you decided that that was a beautiful thing and you used it to make an actual illustration. You know, like this is the way you think with the faux naive kind of vibe. Okay, so there, I've added some scribbles and subtly erase a few of them. I don't want it to be too obvious. You want to think very, very subtly. Whiskers! Jennifer, thank you. Of course, you need to have whiskers. A cat without whiskers is like, it's like something. It's like something bad. Okay, whiskers. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Jennifer, are you a cat person? I almost need a cat person around when I'm working on cats because cat people know these things. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna call those some good whiskers. Good. Okay, so this is probably, we're gonna just call it done just because I need to move on to something else. I had a few other questions and I want to make sure for my first live stream that I answered everybody's questions. So we're gonna call this guy done for now. All right, there's my cat. His name is Charlotte. Yes, it's a he. His name is Charlotte. Okay, so Questions I had from my Facebook post are Ryan wanted to know, who is an artist that inspired you? And would you be keen to draw a fun, quirky picture of them? I don't have time to draw a picture of an artist right now. I'm spent way too long on this cat, but it was fun, so whatever. It's my live stream. I'll do what I want. But I love the idea. I was actually thinking about doing this where I did like a video about an artist that's inspired me, and then I kind of do an illustration in their style. So I'll just tell you my favorite artist of all time. My favorite artist is Vincent Van Gogh, which is, if you're not familiar with Van Gogh, he's what's called an abstract expressionist. So his style of art was how he felt was how he painted. So if he's painting the moon and stars and he's feeling really magical, he'll paint them all kind of swirly and like a big tornado in the sky or something like that. Or if he's feeling sad, he'll paint a picture of some sunflowers and he'll use just colors and tones that just really, the way he feels comes through in everything he paints. So if he's feeling good that day, it comes out. If he's feeling crummy that day, it comes out. If he didn't like his eggs that morning, you know by the way he painted those sunflowers that Van Gogh didn't like his eggs. That's why I love him. He's the father of Expressionism, and Expressionism is about expressing your feelings about the subject or your feelings in general through the way that you paint. So there you go. He's my favorite artist. There's so many more, and I might actually do like a series on these guys, but Vincent Van Gogh, if I had to pick one, and just his story, he's like that quintessential, the one artist you think of when you think of like the struggling artist, the mad genius, that he never sold a painting in his life, and he was this, he worked so hard and tried to share his stuff with the world, and just nobody cared, and as soon as he passed away, everybody suddenly wanted his stuff. And it's just such the story of a tragic story of an artist. So there's my favorite artist, Vincent Van Gogh. And if you're not familiar with Van Gogh, or you're not really familiar, look up some Van Gogh. Look at a lot of Van Gogh. Van Gogh is just, I'm a student of Van Gogh for sure. Jasper wants to know how to draw a really cool mushroom, any kind of mushroom, or perhaps a couple different ones. I don't have time to do a whole illustration on a mushroom, but I'll give you the quick version. All right. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to paint a background. Okay. Add some paint to the canvas, smudge it around. And the way that I draw a mushroom is usually the exact same way. I'll start with the mushroom cap, and I'll just put it in the shape of, I like to show the underside of the mushroom. That little part underneath here where there's kind of like those radiating filaments or whatever you call them, whiskers or whatever coming out from the stem. So I always start by putting on the top, and then I put the stem underneath, and the stem usually is a lighter color, or not the stem, those whiskery filaments underneath, and they're usually a lighter color, although you can make it dark. There's no real wrong way to draw a mushroom. Mushrooms come in so many different shapes and sizes, and they have so many connotations that you can really just you can make them purple and green if you want. Like there's no rules when it comes to mushrooms. And then I usually put in a stem coming out from there. All right. And I like to draw things a little wrong, a little bit faux naive, as I've said before. So, I know that this stock would ordinarily, oh, did I draw that actually on? Whatever. Here, let's put that stock on a different layer. Okay, mushroom stock coming up.